Marhaba. The previous video was about the empty space in the mouth and the throat, and it is the articulation place of the elongation letters. If you haven't watched it yet, click here to get to the video. In this video, I'll introduce the letters of the second Arabic articulation place, the throat. Hamza, ha, Ain, ha, Ghin, Kha. Before getting into the letters, you need to know something called الحركات, the diacritics. I'll introduce to you 4 diacritics that are important for now. They are الفتحة, الكسرة, الضمة, and السكون. They are short vowels that are needed to pronounce any Arabic letter. They are written on or under the letter, but Arabs usually don't write them because they already know how to read the word. Al-Fatha is a small dash put on the letter, and it means the opening because it is pronounced by opening the jaws. Al-Kasra is a small dash put under the letter, and it means the breaking. It is pronounced by lowering the lower jaw. Al-Dhamma is a small loop with a dash put on the letter, and it means pursing and also means the hug because it is pronounced by pursing the lips. If you watch the elongation letters video, which I hope you did, you'll notice the similarities between them and the diacritics. If you notice that, then you are smart because there is a relation. The elongation letters are actually called إشباع لحركة ما قبلها in Arabic, which means a saturation of the previous diacritic. That is to say, Alif is a saturation of the Fatha before it. Waw al-Maddiya is a saturation of the Dhamma before it. Al-Ya al-Maddiya is a saturation of the Kasra before it. Remember this rule. Each elongation letter must have a matching diacritic before it. The last diacritic is as-sukun, which is a small circle above the letter, and it means the inactivity or the calmness. This is why it is pronounced by colliding without any excessive movement, such as opening or lowering the jaws or pursing the lips. Don't worry if this information is overwhelming. You'll understand all of this when I introduce the letters and pronounce them with diacritics. A last point about diacritics is that basically for all letters, the Fatha, Dhamma, Kasra diacritics have the same pronunciation period. Meaning if Ba with a Fatha is pronounced in half a second, then the letter Sin with a Dhamma will have the same time. Ba, Su. This is the basic rule, although there is another rule but is outside the scope of this video. So I want you to always remember this rule. Every active letter have the same time, except for the sukun, which is the inactive diacritic. A letter with a sukun will have a varying length depending on its characteristics. The characteristics that decide the letter's length is the softness and its opposite, the hardness, and the characteristic in between, which is called the moderation. Please refer to the characteristics lesson for more about them. The relationship is as follows. The time of a softness letter is longer than the time of a moderate letter, which is longer than a hardness letter. As, a, up. Did you notice the time each letter takes? Okay. Now let's get back to our main topic, which is the throat letters. The throat articulation place is divided into 3 special places. From each place, 2 letters are pronounced. The special places are أقصى الحلق, the furthest part of the throat. It is the furthest part from the mouth. And from this part, the letter Hamza and letter Ha are pronounced. وسط الحلق, the middle of the throat. From this part, the letter Ain and Ha are pronounced. أدنى الحلق, the closest part of the throat. It is the closest part of the throat to the mouth. From this part, the letter Ghain and Kha are pronounced. Now let's start with the letters of the furthest part of the throat, الهمزة and الهاء. The letter Hamza has multiple forms. It looks like a vertical line with a small shape above it or below it. Sometimes it has a tilde above it, or in the beginning of a word, it might have nothing above it. It can be written on a kursi, meaning a chair, also called a nabira. It can be written on a waw or written alone on the writing line. All this variation depends on the dictation rules. For now, you need to know that this letter takes these different shapes. The Hamza has three cases. First, original. It can be an original letter of the word and it's called Hamzatul Qata'. The Hamzatul Qata' is this little shape like letter Ain and it comes at the beginning, middle and end of the word. It is called Qata', meaning cutting, because when it is pronounced, it sounds as if the word is being cut into two parts. You'll notice this when I pronounce it later on. It is written on base. The base could be an alif, waw, ya, or on the writing line. Examples: ila, mu'ayyad, bi'ah, sama', ya'khud. The second case is additional, which is called hamzatu wasl. The connection hamza, it is always at the beginning of the word. It doesn't have the hamza shape written on it. The letter after it is always an active letter, meaning has a sukun diacritic on it. It is used to facilitate the pronunciation of the inactive letter, because Arab don't start with an inactive letter, i.e. a letter with a sukun diacritic. That is why it is pronounced when the word is the first word in the speech and dropped when the word is in the middle of the speech. For example, listen to these words: Al-walad, ibn, istakbar. This is when you start the speech with these words. But if they are in the middle of the speech, then the hamza is dropped. قال الولد, قال الولد. From the lam in qala to the lam in al-walad. We don't say قال الولد, no. قال الولد. Second example: محمد بن عبد الله. محمد بن. You don't say Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Muhammadu ibn, no. Muhammad ibn. From the dal to the ba. The third example: ولكنه استكبر. ولكنه استكبر. ولكنه استكبر. You don't say ولكنه استكبر, no. ولكنه استكبر. You drop the hamza. The third case is alternated. It is when the hamza is alternated to an elongation letter. If you have two consecutive hamza, where the second one is an active, meaning has a sukun diacritic, change the second one to an elongation letter suitable for the first hamza diacritic. For example, this word ayah is originally ya. The first hamza has a fatha and the second hamza has a sukun, ya. But we changed the second hamza to an elongation letter, so the word becomes ayah, because the alif is suitable for the fatha. Another example: iman. It is originally i'man, but the second hamza is changed to an elongation letter suitable for the kasra, which is the ya. Another example: udu. Udu. It is originally u'du, but the second hamza is changed to a waw, which is suitable for the dhamma diacritic of the first hamza. Also, when the first letter is a hamzat wasl and the second letter is hamzat qata', and you start the speech with this word, you alternate the hamza. For example, This word is read iti when you start the speech with it. Iti. You don't say iti. Rather, you say iti. But when it is in the middle of the speech, for example, if there is a waw before it, then Hamzat al-Wasl is dropped. And you read it like this. Wa'ti. Wa'ti. Now let's get back to the previous table and keep in mind the Hamza cases. In the beginning of the word, it may has one of these forms. The first three forms are called Hamzat Qata', and the last one is called Hamzat Wasl. And the rest of the table are Hamzat Qata'. Now let us talk about how to pronounce the Hamza. It is pronounced by closing the vocal cords completely. Here is how to pronounce Hamzat al-Qata' with these diacritics. A, I, U. For the Sukun diacritic, we need examples. In the middle or the end of the word, ma, ya'kul, sama, mu'min. Notice how the Hamza is cutting the word into two parts. Mu'min. In the beginning of the word, then, as mentioned before, we need Hamzat Wasl and alternating the second Hamza. Utumina, iti. Notice when I pronounce the Hamza how I satisfied all its characteristics. There is no air coming out, only sound. The sound is blocked when pronouncing it due to the strong dependency on the articulation place, which is the vocal cords. This is prominent with the Sukun, such as mu'ta, jit, juz. Notice how the sound is blocked and how the time of the inactive letter is very short. The sound is not directed to the roof of the mouth and it is not trapped inside the mouth. By now you might ask, what is the difference between Hamza and the Alif? The Alif is an elongation letter and it always has a letter before it that has a fatha diacritic. Refer to the previous lesson for more. Now let's take examples of words containing the Hamza and practice its pronunciation. Amal, i'lam, uhib, آكل خطيئة دائرة آباؤكم مؤلم شئت تأويل إن السماء صافية في السماء السماء شيء. Maybe you noticed that Hamzat al-Wasl doesn't have a diacritic. That is correct. You never write a diacritic on it. But then, how to pronounce it? You can find Hamzat al-Wasl in nouns, verbs, and particles. For the particles, it is only present in the definite article, al-tarif, and it is always maftuha, with a fatha diacritic, such as al-bayt, alladhi, allati, الرجل. Next, in nouns, it is always maksura, has a kasra diacritic, such as intiqam, iftira, ibn, ithnain, imra'a. Now, in the verbs, it is either maksura, meaning has the kasra diacritic, or madmuma, has dhamma diacritic, depending on the diacritic of the third letter of the verb. You know the diacritic of the third letter of the verb if it's written, or if not, you must know Arabic morphology. So, pronounce the Hamza with dhamma if the third letter of the verb is originally madmum, like udhkur, and pronounce the Hamza with kasra if the third letter of the verb is originally maksur or maftuh. Idrib, istahwadha, i'mal. For more details, read the link in the description. We are not done with the Hamza. I know it is an easy letter to pronounce, but there is a lot to say about it. We are left with changes that are done to the Hamza. This is very important for you to understand Arabic dialects. As you have noticed, when I pronounced the Hamza earlier, it has these characteristics, loudness and hardness. When these two characteristics are present in a letter, it causes disturbance in the articulation system, especially if it is inactive, sakina. But there is a solution for this disturbance suitable for each letter. I will tell you about the solution for the Hamza only, which is changing the Hamza. Arab get rid of the Hamza hardness by one of 4 ways. These ways are used in dialects, so keep in mind that their changing are standard and not colloquial. First, alternating al-ibdal by changing the Hamza to an elongation letter suitable for the previous letter diacritic. For example, the word dhib is changed to dhib. Notice the ya is suitable for the kasra. The word yu'min is changed to yumin. Waw is suitable for the dhamma. Yastahzi becomes yastahzi. Ya'kul becomes ya'kul. The second way is deleting or omitting al-hadf أو الإسقاط by deleting the Hamza altogether. For example, as-sama becomes as-sama. Yastahzi'un becomes yastahzun. The third way, moving an-naql by moving the Hamza diacritic to its preceding silent letter. For example, man aman becomes manaman. The last way, simplifying at-tasheel, simplifying the Hamza between Hamza and Alif, meaning you don't pronounce a clear Hamza, neither an Alif, which is an elongation letter, but a sound between the two. For example, al-ab becomes alab. Here you don't pronounce the Hamza by closing the vocal cords, rather the Hamza is flowing, not blocked. Okay, we are finally done with the Hamza. The upcoming letters are simpler, they are not as complicated as the Hamza. Remember, we are talking about the furthest part of the throat. The ha is said to be above the Hamza slightly. This is how the letter ha looks. The ha is pronounced by approaching the vocal cords to each other and letting the air rub through it. Ha, he, hu, ah. Now let's take examples of words containing the letter ha and practice their pronunciation. Haraba, hir, humam, ihtam, sahara, باهر يلهون أهتم مهلك صهر توجه فيه له ألقه. Let's see how to satisfy the ha's essential characteristics. Breath flows, ha. The sound is not blocked, ha. The sound is not directed to the roof of the mouth. You say هذا and not هذا. هذا is wrong. And lastly, the sound is not trapped inside the mouth. Now we are done with the furthest part of the throat. Let's move on to the next part, the middle of the throat, which consists of 2 letters, العين and الحاء. The عين is pronounced from the middle of the throat, and it is below the ha. It is one of the hardest letters to pronounce for Arabic learners, and they usually pronounce it as a hamza, which is from the furthest part of the throat, remember? Or they pronounce it as an alif, which is an elongation letter. Both are wrong, of course. Mastering this letter is very important if you want to understand Arabic and be understood. Because, for example, the word ayn and ayn means 2 different things, I and where respectively. Now this is how letter ayn looks like. The ayn is pronounced by approaching the epiglottis to the back of the throat considerably. If you want to locate your epiglottis, try swallowing your saliva. The place that closes is where the ayn should be pronounced from. A, عي عو آ. Now let's take examples of words containing the عين and practice its pronunciation. عمل علم عمر اعمل ملعب ساعد بعد بعد فعل يعرف بلع الفرع البيع بيع. Let's see how its characteristics are satisfied. Breath or air doesn't flow when it's pronounced. The عين should be loud. If there is whistling in it, then you are getting closer to the ha, and you should go down a bit. A and not ah, ah, ah. The sound flows slightly when pronouncing it. If the sound is too short and cuts immediately, then you are probably going further in the throat, closer to the hamza. Ah, ah is wrong. If the sound is too long and it flows, then you are probably going upward in the throat and you need to go a little further. Ah, 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 ah is wrong. The correct sound of the عين is when the sound flows slightly, then stops. Ah, ah. The sound is not directed to the roof of the mouth. Ah and not ah. Ah is wrong. The sound is not trapped inside the mouth. If the عين sound is closer to an alif, then you are not approaching enough the epiglottis to the back of the tongue. Next, the ha. The ha is said to be above the عين slightly, and both of them are from the middle part of the throat. It is also one of the hardest letters to pronounce for Arabic learners, but it is easier than عين to pronounce. Non-Arab usually pronounce it ha, which is from the furthest part of the throat. Mixing these letters is also problematic. Consider these two words, habal and habal. They mean two different things, stupidity and pregnancy, respectively. This is how ha looks like. The ha is pronounced by approaching the epiglottis to the back of the throat slightly and letting the air rub through it. Notice that the ha is above the عين. So if you located the عين place from the previous section, don't pronounce the ha from the same place, but rather a little above it. Ha, he, hu, ah. Now let's take examples of words containing the ha. حقيقة حمار حلم احمد سباحة ساحر بحور بحر سحر تحفة مرح عن الروح يسمح اسبح. Let's see how its characteristics are satisfied. Breath flows, ha. The sound is not blocked, and the sound is not directed to the roof of the mouth, and it is not trapped inside the mouth. The ha should be pronounced without discomfort, very softly by narrowing the epiglottis and focusing the pronunciation at a point above it. The difference between ha and ha is as such. Ha, 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 ha. Ha is close to the hamza, so pronounce the hamza, then the ha. A, ha, a, ha. The ha is close to the عين, so pronounce the عين, then the ha. A, ha, a, ha, a, ha, a, ha, 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 ha. Now we are done with the middle part of the throat. Let's move on to the next part, the closest part of the throat, which consists of two letters, الغين and الخاء. The Ghain is pronounced from the closest part of the throat to the mouth, and it is below the Kha. It is one of the hardest letters to pronounce for Arabic learners, and they usually mispronounce it as a Qaf Mukhaffafa, which is from the furthest part of tongue. Qaf al-Mukhaffafa, the reduced Qaf, is another pronunciation of the letter Qaf. It is used in other languages that uses the Arabic letters, and also used in some dialects to pronounce Qaf. And it sounds like the English G in Google. This is how letter Ghain looks. The Ghain is pronounced by approaching the root of the tongue to the soft palate. Approach it closely, but be careful not to stick it completely. There should be a slight gap between the root of the tongue and the soft palate. If you want to locate the letter's place correctly, try gargling with some water. The place where the gargling sound comes from is the place of the letter Ghain. Gargling in Arabic is called gharghara. Now let's pronounce the Ghain. Gha, ghi, gu, agh. Now let's take examples of words containing the Ghain and practice its pronunciation. غير, غيرة, غبار, اغلب, شغب, لاغي, مشغول, مغرب, مغبر, مغسلة, لدغ, ألغي, يفرغ, أفرغ. Now let's see how its characteristics are satisfied. Breath shouldn't flow when it's pronounced. You should not force air to flow when pronouncing it. Doing so will change its sound to Kha. Gha and not Gha. To fix this, go down a bit. Gha, Gha, Gha. The sound flows due to the weak dependency on the articulation place. If the sound is too short and cuts immediately, then you are probably sticking the root of the tongue to the soft palate. So make sure to approach it and leave a gap for the sound to flow. The sound is directed to the roof of the mouth. This is the first letter with the elevating characteristic. Gha, gha, gha. The sound is not trapped inside the mouth. Now make sure not to mispronounce Ghain as Ghain, which is from the furthest part of the tongue with the soft palate. Gha and not Ga, Ga, Gha, Gha, not Ga. Last but not least, letter Kha. The Kha is said to be above the Ghain slightly, and both of them are from the closest part of the throat. Non-Arab usually mispronounce it as Kaf, which is from the furthest part of the tongue. A very popular name that non-Arab mispronounce is Khalid. They mispronounce it as Khalid. This is how letter Kha looks. The Kha is pronounced by approaching the root of the tongue to the soft palate and letting the air rub through it. Notice that the Kha is above the Ghain. So if you located the Ghain place from the previous section, don't pronounce the Kha from the same place, but rather a little bit above it. Kha, khi, khu, akh, akh. Now let's practice pronouncing some words containing the letter Kha. Khalid, khiyar, khubz, اختر, مخدة, ساخن, بخور, مخرج, سخرية, مخلب, سلخ, أرخي, المريخ, أرخ. Let's see how its characteristics are satisfied. Breath flows. The whistling in the letter Kha is moderate, so be careful not to rub the air strongly and produce a harsh sound close to snorting, which is wrong. Not Kha, 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 Kha. It is Kha, Kha. Don't overdo it. It should be pronounced without discomfort, very softly, without excessive air. The sound is not blocked. The sound is directed to the roof of the mouth. Ha, ha, not kha, kha, ha, ha. The sound is not trapped inside the mouth. Now make sure not to mispronounce kha as ka, which is from the furthest part of the tongue, with the soft palate and the hard palate. Ha, ha, and ka, ka, ha, ka, ha, ka. Now we are done with throat letters. Let me pronounce them all together with diacritics. A, I, U, Ha, Hi, Hu, A, I, U, Ha, Hi, Hu, Ga, Ghi, Gu, Kha, Khi, Hu. Now I'll introduce some words that contain similar letters. أعلم, سبحه, مسبحة, كخيل, لا تزغ قلوبنا. Now we reached the end of this video. I hope you find it helpful and informative, and you didn't get bored. If you would like to practice pronouncing these letters and words, then if you like, you could record your voice and send it to the email in the comment below. If I receive enough recordings, I'll make a video correcting your pronunciation. You'll find the details in the comment section and in the post's links in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video.